Hey everybody, welcome back to a new video. It's been a long time since I've had a new 12 volt fridge here on the channel, and this is from ICECO. This is their new APL35, and I just got back from a road trip with the family where I had a chance to test this out in Moab, Utah. Now I'll tell you guys, on that trip I saw people with ice chests and coolers loaded down with ice, and there is a much better way, and that's by using a 12 volt fridge. These don't require any ice at all. They have a built-in compressor just like the fridge in your house, except for they run off 12 or 24 volts. So you can power these in your vehicle while you're driving, and there's no ice needed. Now this is called the ICECO APL35 because of its capacity. As we open this up, you can see there are two separate zones. This one has 27 liters of capacity, this one has 8 liters of capacity, and you can control the temperature in each one. This is a dual zone model, meaning you could have this set to a fridge, this side set to a freezer, you could have both sides set to a freezer, or you could have both sides set to a fridge. Now some of you may be wondering, well, how does this 12 volt fridge actually work? Well, there's a DC compressor below this compartment here, and when it's running, it pushes refrigerant through two evaporative coils. There's one coil that goes along the top of this zone, and then there's one coil that goes along the top of this zone, and there's a valve that controls either option. And so as that runs, these get really cold along the top, and then that cold air drops down inside each compartment, cooling it off. Now there are temperature sensors in each zone, so it knows when to shut off, and it can hold that temperature really accurately. Now one thing I love about this fridge is how lightweight it is. It only comes in at 32 pounds, so moving it around is really easy. Now the biggest advantage of going with ICECO is they use a brand name ICECO compressor, which is super efficient, it's quiet when it's running, and they offer a 5-year warranty on this. So let's remove this control panel and see what compressor they used. Now each time I test one of these fridges, I like to open it up so we can check the model of the compressor and verify the build quality. So first let's take a look at the compressor. It is a ICECO compressor. They offer a 5-year warranty on this. It is the BDN45F, and this is just a tiny little compressor compared to other models. I think they call this nanotechnology. Now it also has these rubber isolators to help dampen the vibration. So zooming out a bit, you can see how small that compressor is. Right here you have the valve that controls the refrigerant for each of the zones. Right here is your condenser coil, and then you have a fan that pushes air through the condenser coil over the compressor and out the other side. Now finally you have the back of the control panel. So on the other side of this you have the LCD display and the buttons that control the settings. So this is the logic board that controls all of that. You have a Bluetooth antenna here for smart app connectivity, and you have your main power wires, the positive and negative input. And I did notice that there is a fuse in here. If you happen to blow a fuse, it is in here that you can get to it by removing this panel. You have the USB port, and all these wires are nice and tidy. They are zip tied to each other going back inside the fridge. So after taking a quick look inside, verifying the model of the compressor, there are no issues with build quality. Everything is put together really nicely. Well, now that I've installed the control panel here, I've plugged in the fridge so you can hear how it sounds as it's running. Now this fridge has a very quiet compressor, and the fan is also very quiet. Some fridges will actually be so loud that they wake you up as they turn on overnight, but this one does not have that issue. Now when this is running on eco mode or max mode, it puts out slightly above 40 decibels, and I've measured so you guys can see how loud that is. Now this is the control panel for the APL35. I want to show you how easy it is to use it. Now the first thing you'll notice is the current temperature in each zone. The left one is the large zone, the right one is the small zone, and you have two buttons here. The power button allows you to turn on and off the fridge. You just press and hold this to change that. And the settings button here has two functions. If you short press it, it allows you to change the temperature in each zone, and if you long press it, it allows you to change the advanced settings on the fridge. So let's walk through how you adjust this. So if I press the settings button with a short press, you can see it's set to 42 degrees. Let's go down to maybe 35 degrees. If you press it again, it's going to go to the next zone, and you have the ability to set it lower. It's set at 23, and let's go down to 10 degrees. So now these will both go down in temperature. You can hear the compressor running in the background. Now what about the other settings? Well, you press and hold the settings button for a long period of time. The first option is eco mode or max mode. If you press it again, you have the ability to change the battery protection settings so you don't kill the vehicle starter battery. You can go between high, medium, and low. If you press it again, it allows you to change between Celsius and Fahrenheit, and one other press will turn on and off Bluetooth connectivity because you do have the ability to control this with the ICECO Smart app. Now here's a demo of the ICECO Smart app. Now we're looking at the right zone here. You can see the temperature is set to 10 degrees. And if we look at the left zone, the temperature is set to 35, and it shows the current temperature in each one of those zones. You also have the ability at the bottom to change eco mode, and you can turn on and off the fridge, and you can go to other advanced settings here. But it is nice to be able to check in on the fridge and control it remotely with the Smart app. Now there are two different ways to power up the fridge out of the box. The first option is this AC to DC power supply. You plug this into a normal 120 volt outlet, and then it powers up the fridge with about 14.5 volts DC. So you can use this to power it up in your house, or if you're on a road trip and you're staying the night at a hotel, bring this along and you can power it up in the hotel. The next power cable is this one here. It's for DC power. Now most people are going to run this off 12 volts, so this plugs into a 12 volt cigarette port in your vehicle or on a power station. Now this is much improved over the previous generation of power cables because this actually has 4 different power terminals that make it fit really snugly into a 12 volt cigarette port. So much improved power cable to run this off 12 or 24 volts DC. So next I want to demo a few things inside the fridge so you can get a reference of how big it is. So over here I have this set to a freezer, and I have a half gallon of ice cream. This is Denali Moose Tracks. So what's really cool about this is being able to take ice cream on your road trip or on your camping trip. Now you do have room on top of this and around the outside of this if you wanted to fit more in here. Now for the fridge side of things, I have this gallon of milk in here, and there's definitely space above that so you can still shut the lid. And for reference, I have 2 sparkling water cans stacked up, so you can definitely put some this way and this way, stacked double high. Now this fridge is perfect for one person going on a 3 or 4 day trip, or for 2 people going over a weekend, but I would recommend a larger fridge if you were going to go on a longer trip with a family. Now another feature that I really like about this fridge is the lid design. Sometimes you can't open the fridge lid all the way, and if you only have one hand available, it's really hard to both open the fridge, hold the lid open, and grab what you want. But this fridge, the lid stays open to where you want it, so you can easily grab what you want out, and then you can shut the lid down. Now speaking of the lid, there is a ginormous rubber gasket that goes around on the inside to give you a really good seal along the inside of the fridge, leading to higher efficiency. Now I mentioned in the beginning of this video, this is a very efficient fridge, so how much power does it actually use? Well, I do 4 different tests. Each one is 24 hours in length. I do 2 tests here in my office where the average temperature is around 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I take the fridge and put it in a small closet with a heater to get the temperature up there a bit to simulate a hot summer day. And so that will give you guys an idea of how much power this will use at 70 degrees ambient and above 85 degrees ambient. Let's jump into those results. So up on the screen, you're going to see the results of all 4 of those tests. The 2 on the left were ran at 70 degrees ambient, and the 2 on the right were ran at 85 degrees ambient. The dark blue tests are when I had both sides set to a fridge of 37 degrees, and the light blue tests are when I had this set to a fridge-freezer combo. One side was 37 degrees, and one side was 5 degrees. Now starting with the results on the left-hand side, the 70 degree ambient tests, when I was running this as a fridge, it only pulled 150 watt hours, or an average of 6 watts. That is extremely efficient. Running this as a fridge-freezer combo, it pulled a little bit more power at 390 watt hours, or an average of 16 watts. Now if we step up the temperature to 85 degrees, you do get a little bit more power consumption. For example, when I had this set as a fridge, it pulled 240 watt hours, or an average of 10 watts power usage. And then running it as a fridge-freezer combo at 85 degrees, it pulled 580 watt hours, or an average of 24 watts. Now the reason these power consumption numbers are so good is because this is a well-insulated fridge and the compressor doesn't have to run that often. For example, when it's not running, the fridge pulls less than 1 watt of power. When you have it set to eco mode, the compressor uses about 33 watts of power, and if you set to max mode, it pulls about 50 watts of power, and max mode is meant to cool off the inside of the fridge at a faster rate. But remember, it sits idle most of the time, so you have very good power consumption numbers. In the next test, I like to verify that the internal temperature is accurate using these Bluetooth thermometers versus what the actual set point is. I started this test by setting it to 37 degrees and putting the Bluetooth thermometer inside the large portion of the fridge. And after a few hours, I checked the results. The average temperature was 37.4 degrees, the maximum was 40.1, and the minimum was 36 degrees. The set point was at 37 degrees, so these are very tight groupings, meaning that the temperature accuracy is really good. Now, I will say that when I first tested the temperature accuracy on this fridge, it was off by over 10 degrees in each of the zones. I had to reach out to ICECO support and let them know what the issue was, and they let me know they had a calibration video that I could walk through and change the settings on the fridge. It's a very simple process by pushing some buttons and changing some numbers. And after doing that, you can see that the temperature is really accurate. So if you happen to have one of the early models of this fridge and your temperatures are way off, I'd recommend walking through that calibration setup. I'll have that video linked down in the video description so you guys can watch it and see the process and make the changes on your fridge. Now, what is the pricing for the ICECO APL35? Well, if we check out their website, you can see it's listed at $599 right now, but I do have a 12% off discount code that takes a little more than $71 off the total price, bringing it all the way down to $527. So if you are interested in saving a little bit of cash, make sure you use my discount code Jasonoid at checkout to get that better pricing. So now that we know the price of the APL35, how does it stack up against some other options available? Now, one of the biggest brand names out there for fridges is Dometic. And so a similar option to this would be the Dometic CFX3, which is a 36-liter design, and it has one zone. So it's a little bit different as this has two zones, but that one comes in at around $800, a little bit over $800. So it is about $200 more than this one. Now, a more affordable option would be the SetPower PT35. Now, that fridge is similarly sized to this one, but it comes in at $249. That fridge does lack a CCOP compressor and a 5-year warranty, but it did have really good performance testing when I tested the PT55 on the channel. The PT35 is just a little bit smaller than that. So now that you know that there are some other options, more expensive and less expensive, you'll have to let me know what you think about the pricing and the performance of the APL35. Make sure you throw a comment down below. Now guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you like the video. I'll recommend a couple other videos that you guys can check out that are similar to this one. We'll see you guys in the next one.